to explain to you these anchor points and paths a little bit more. So if we look at the pen tool, it's a little tricky when you start, but it'll be fine. So if we click and let go, you create an anchor point, okay? And then you're going to move your mouse and you can click and drag. Don't let go. And you can change the shape of the line that you're making. Remember, these are those paths and equations that Illustrator's so good with. So if we click and drag, you can just make different shapes, whatever you want. But at the end, if you click where you started, you can see under my mouse I have a circle. I'm actually going to close the path off. So now this is a complete shape that I can fill in if I wanted using the paint bucket tool, just like in Photoshop, all that kind of stuff. It's a closed path. An open path would be one where I just draw some shape, but then I don't actually finish it. It's open. You can't fill this in because Illustrator doesn't know how when there's an opening. You just have a line. So if I were to do a fill color, let's say like that, if I do the same thing on my open path, you'll see it doesn't finish. So this one, to show more of an extreme of what I'm talking about, it's going to connect your final two, but you don't have a stroke. And you can't create, if I wanted a smooth shape, it's going to just do the shortest distance between the 2 points, the hypotenuse of the shape. And if you start to do kind of intertwining path shapes, it's going to get a little confused. So it doesn't work exactly the way you might think it would. So when that happens, you might need to do multiple shapes to create what you're looking for, or make sure to close your path. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the pen tool. So I have this example from your book, and I would just suggest that you take either a basic drawing that you've done or a picture of something that you have, something simple that you can kind of try to outline using the pen tool. Practice is really going to make perfect when it comes to this tool, so you just want to start easy and move from there. So I've got this carrot. I'll start at the bottom here. Well, let me put a new layer so that we don't keep doing that. So your layers, Illustrator puts everything in one layer. Okay, you can create separate ones and we still can lock and all that kind of stuff, but all of your little pieces and shapes are all going to be part of one layer. So I will click and let go, and then you can decide how far you want to go with the pen tool. You never want to do points, super close together, because then it will just start to look like a jagged line, and the whole point about using Illustrator is you can get these awesome curves. But sometimes if you use too much space, you're unable to get the multiple bends and curves of the actual shape. So it's a fine line you have to play around with, but you can either do halfway through the carrot or kind of at the top here. I'm just going to do halfway for now. So we click and drag, and you try to match the black line and then let go. You can see I have handles here. A lot of times people get confused and think this is part of your path, but that's actually your handles. That's saying how far is my line going, what direction is it going to go to. I'll show you a little bit more about that in a second. So then I'll click and drag to finish my carrot top. Okay, now you can see I'm dragging that anchor point to get the curve that I want. But if I leave my anchor point out that far, when I go to make my next point, see how big that shape is? I won't be able to get the curve that I want. So what I actually have to do is when I click and drag and get the shape that I'm actually looking for, I have to hold Alt on my keyboard. And what that does is it breaks the handles so you can point this handle in the direction that you're going. You don't need to pull it out far. You just want to have a little space showing in the direction that you're moving. That way, we can finish our path down here and close our path. Whoops. Create a nice shape. With the pen tool, it moves your actual artboard so that you can get the curve that you want. To show another example of what I'm talking about by holding Alt on the keyboard, try to create an M. So if I click and let go, and I click on the same line and drag up, and then I go to click on the same line, you can see it's going in the complete wrong direction. But if I grab my pen tool, click and let go, click drag, but then hold Alt and say, hey, pen tool, I'm going to go in an upward direction. And then I let go. When I go to do the next one, I can create the second hump of the M. So again, play around with the pen